Hey there, it's Anna Spelik here, and welcome to a new episode of Ask Anna, your place to be to ask all your questions, get inspiration and education and motivation to create a life that you love and is free from the food obsession or any crazy food or eating behaviors. Now, today's question is all about, or comes from one of the incredible women in my Facebook support group, Imprints on the Heart, and she's asking, what is the difference on the similarity to normal addictions, drug and alcohol addiction, and actually food addiction? Now, this is a very good question, and I'm going to share with you my take on addictions, what they actually mean, and more importantly, the number one thing you can do straight away to overcome or to move through your food addiction or food struggle. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Anna Spelik, a addiction psychologist and therapist, and also a food freedom coach, helping women all around the world to craft a binge-free life. Now, like I said, today we're talking about addictions, and I see a lot of talk about food addiction. There's been lots of research done about it, and also on specific ingredients or substances like sugar or carbohydrates. Well, obviously they are sugar. How they act on the brain, and it's been found that sugar is very, very similar to cocaine. So the way it acts on your brain and the chemical that it releases is very similar to cocaine. So you get a boost, you get a high, a lot of dopamine and serotonin are being released, the feel-good chemicals, and it gives you a hit, and it is pretty addictive. And also the whole food industry, they're so good in putting stuff in our food, and the kind of pre-packaged food that just makes us want to crave, it just makes us want to eat more. So if you find yourself wanting to have just a couple of crisps, but you end up eating the whole bag, it's not just because you're crazy or you're binging or you've got an addiction. It's actually it's also due to like the ingredients that they put into the food in order to make you eat more so that you can buy more, right? So there's a whole kind of industry built around that, and they've done tons and tons and tons of research and invested billions of money to make sure they put the right ingredients together that make you want to eat more. Okay, well, I don't want to talk about the whole chemical side of it and the how it affects your brain stuff. I want to talk to you about addictions as a behavior. So I've been working in the field of addictions for over 10 years now, and I grew up with a heroin addict, so I really I know about addictions, and I've had eating disorders, I've been a food addict, if you wish. So I'm quite in there from a personal experience, but also from a professional experience. And what I can say about addiction is that yes, there are substances that are highly addictive, like cocaine or heroin. But what's more important is when it comes to food, yes, you have the substance there as well, but really it's been considered as a behavioral addiction traditionally. And what that means is that you come into you have a behavior that is very obsessive. The thinking, the kind of keep on binging, keep going back to the fridge over and over and over again. And it's not so much about what you're eating, it's more the compulsion that is behind it, the behavior that comes with it. And also, a characteristic of it is also how you're feeling afterwards. So the main characteristics of addictions are that you develop a tolerance, that you have the feeling that you cannot stop whilst you're in the middle of it, that you feel guilt and shame around it, that it impacts on your life, and that your will goes out of the window as soon as you put something in your mouth. Now, for us binge eaters, if you're really in the middle of it, it's pretty much how it is, right? So we eat a cake and suddenly our mind goes crazy, and all we think about is eating more. We keep going back to the fridge, going back to the garage or to the grocery shop to buy more and more and more, until there comes a point where either we are so full that literally we cannot put anything into ourselves anymore, that something happens so we can't continue. So there is usually a break point, okay? And the feeling afterwards, is just full of shame and guilt, and often it is, not so much what we've eaten, but how we've eaten, how much we've eaten of that, and then there comes the whole cycle of trying to get rid of it, or compensating for it, or just wishing then, okay, tomorrow is going to be all different. So addictions, you can also look at, like, the way I look at addictions is coming from a more more helpful way, because really what you have to go deeper and understand what it actually means to be addicted, and how come you are turning to the substance in the first place, even though it's causing you grief, it's causing you pain, you can't stop it, you can't control it. Okay, so if you're not physically addicted to it, like you are to heroin or smoking or something, and this is the case with behavioral addiction, you're not physically really depending on a substance. It is the behavior, it is the thing that you go there for, what you hope to get, what you hope to achieve, that you keep going there for. Okay, so there's always a payoff. You're always hoping to get a certain benefit from it. And really what addictions are, or what kind of using those substances, or external things, right? So it can be shopping, it can be sex, it can be relationship. They're all external things, so they're all things that are outside of ourselves, and we go to these in the hope of that they do something for ourselves that we cannot do ourselves. Okay, so that they fix something, that they make us feel better, and this is usually what it is. We always want to feel better, hoping that if I eat this cake, if I smoke that joint, or if I have that hit, I'm gonna feel better, I'll be okay. So it's really this is the number one thing. You really have to understand what it is that you're going to the food for, what it is that you're hoping to get. And another way of talking about addictions is actually seeing them as anxiety binding mechanisms. Okay, anxiety binding mechanisms. So it's the way of binding or dealing or coping with an anxiety that is going on deep inside of you. So you may not feel anxious, you may not have that obvious anxious feeling that is familiar to you, but it's an underlying thing, an underlying unease, discomfort that is going on. And often if you dig deeper, you will find some sense or something that you're worried about, or something that's anxiety provoking. So it might be, for example, a big one for me was being lonely. Loneliness and boredom was a big trigger for me to go and binge. So what was really underneath was the fear of I don't belong, the fear of not being lovable, the fear of being lonely in this world. Okay, of boredom, right? Is the fear of if I don't do anything, oh my god, shit is gonna come up. All the stuff that I've been trying to put away suddenly is going to surface, and I will have to experience the unease, the discomfort of sitting with myself. So I rather go and eat to make that go away, or to kind of put something above it to buffer it. Okay, so here's my tip for you, right? When you feel you want to go to food, ask yourself, what is really, really, really going on for me right now? Dig deeper, don't just be satisfied with I'm tired, or I'm exhausted, or I'm moody, or I'm lonely. Go deeper and really understand, okay, so if I turn to food, it usually means that I've got some underlying stuff going on right now. How come? What's happening for me? Ask yourself this question, and then ask yourself, what is it that I really, really need, okay? Because I promise you, it's not the chocolate bar, right? So I hope this is an answer to your question. Addictions can also be seen as an anxiety binding mechanism, as a way to deal and cope with your anxiety. And it doesn't matter what kind of addiction is. It doesn't matter, if it's alcohol or drugs, or if it's people or shopping or gambling or sex, whatever. The fact is, what they all have in common is that there's something outside of ourselves that we go for, that we drive on, or that we hope that they will do the trick, that they will fulfill a need inside of us that we feel unable to do so. And the key of overcoming is to learn how to meet your own needs inside of you, okay? To build up the skills, the strategies, the internal mindset to deal with life on life's terms, to manage your emotions in a healthy way, to deal with everything that life brings to us. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear your comments, so be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think, what your take on addictions is, what your personal experience is, and I'm sure I'll be And there you go. I'm sure that I will get back to you. All right, see you next week. Bye.